And hopefully I took off that most annoying chime when somebody joined up.
I think it's still chiming.
Twice.
Yeah, I just took it off. So. It's when we promote somebody from an attendee to a panelist, and that's when it makes that noise.
Just as a precaution, CRS members how to mute out their Slack channels. 100%.
It's a tad bit quiet here, so I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to talk if you want, just for the time being. Here, you're an early bird.
Thank you, Open, for never overrun.
I have been given voice. Working.
You know, the restrictions here compared to our normal meetings are quite a bit.
Gotcha.
Well, if you're here, welcome. With about 15 minutes-ish. We're going to make sure we have enough population building up before we start. Giving most of you guys here the ability to communicate. You guys are free to speak and just kind of hang out. Getting people here.
Yeah. Gotcha, Nate. Laddie, the online RAT Chat starts in about 15 minutes. Five by 5 PM. This is Seppo. I don't hear you at all, mages. And Hastian, we hear your children. You need to get off of voice activated.
Here's a way to swap it out from voice activated.
Yeah, go into your system settings.
Yep.
Wait, is there audio? Push to talk.
There's a mute button down at the bottom.
Yeah, on the bottom left, depending on what app you have.
Okay, thank
you. Test.
Yep.
5 by 5 Psycho.
Testing.
Copy TR6.
Bearded Mitch testing.
Your crew.
Bearded Mitch just heard A-OK.
What's going on, guys?
It's going.
Retest.
We hear you.
Coila 5 by 5.
You hanging yet?
Coila, your transmit's stuck on there for a little bit.
Oh, 1 sec, sort that, I'm in game.
Coila, stuck mic.
Huh.
Magis 99, I can't give you permission to talk without being a panelist. The error that I'm getting is you have an older version of this software. So upgrade your stuff, come back, I'll give you access to talk. Once we actually get started here, guys, we will be obviously removing several people's access to talk, so that way we can have a nice clean discussion and presentation. Dilems, I'm getting the same error as well that I got with
I am here.
sorry. Okay.
Test 1 2 3 1 2 3.
Career.
Hasty and Coastal, your mic is stuck. We hear your kids.
That should solve it.
Thanks, Zoom.
We should take the screaming of Haitian's kids and put it as the new stupid siren.
How long is this chat going on for?
Well, we're going to get started shortly after the hour. Most of the time, people will drag in a little bit late, so usually about an hour and a half. We have a lot of cool stuff to share with you guys today, and we want to make sure that we get through all that, especially for the people who can't attend today. Then, of course, your questions. So we're going to get through all that. So at least an hour and a half, most likely. So grab a drink, grab a snack, bathroom, do all that stuff, everybody. Today is going to be an excellent day full of goodies. Start calling people and saying, dude, you should really get here, because we want lots of people here. Hey, Chim, have we started the live stream yet, or are we waiting?
No, just set up the live stream now.
Okay, excellent. Panelists, make sure your presentation is ready. I'm not going to be presenting for you, just so you know. So get everything set up and ready for when I call on you to go through it, okay?
Roger that.
Hopefully I won't have a coughing fit.
We'll forgive you.
Okay, if I can be heard, I just have a question. What will be going on?
What will be what? Sorry?
What will be going on? What will be going on? Like, sorry, I just have a really quiet mic.
No, it warmed up there. So what are we doing here is basically what you're asking. What's happening?
Yes.
Okay. So this is called the RAT Chat. Reason it's the RAT Chat, hopefully you know CRS is Quarter Rat Software, and that represents the staff of the developers of World War II Online, basically. And the purpose of us having a RAT Chat is to communicate with the player base directly and in an open forum that's really interactive. It's a really cool thing that we do. We really try to maintain a very close working relationship with our community because it's really important that we stay connected, and there's a reason that we've been running for 17 years, and it really has to do with community. So what we're going to be doing is presenting different teams and what they're working on, and today we have a lot of goodies of what's coming to World War II Online that we're going to share. So that's going to take up some time. We're going to try and be quick about it because the most important part of a RAT Chat is making sure that a two-way communication takes place. But there's a lot of people who want to know what we're doing. We have several announcements that or several visuals today that you guys have not seen before of upcoming content, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And then you guys will call on you to ask questions that you might have. So if you're thinking about questions now or you have it, make sure you get like a notepad ready on the side and your top 3 most important questions that you want us to answer. hopefully they're relevant to where we're at today. We'll answer to the best of our ability any question. Try to pay attention for everybody. We find that a lot of time is wasted because we get the same question 2 or 3 times and we have to try and reiterate. We don't want to leave anybody hanging. So listen closely throughout the chat. Get a notepad, write some stuff down, your top 3 questions, and we'll do our best to get to them. But that's, in a nutshell, what this RAT Chat is and how it historically has been. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, so basically it's a way to connect to the community.
Yep, it's a formal communication, but in a very informal type of environment. Yeah, Hastien, the reason you can't cue up your microphone is because I took away your ability to talk because you're kids. I'll give it back to you just as long as you keep that on lockdown, at least until the RAT Chat begins. And then we're going to take everybody's talking power away, and then we'll only be giving it to you once we ask, you know, hey, what's your question? You can have an opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We have 3 minutes left for open mic karaoke.
This may seem like a stupid question, but you see that I haven't played I haven't played World War II online for super long and such. So I just have this question when it comes to like the Steam version and stuff and such.
Ask the question.
What was the question? Sorry?
So my question is that, okay, hold on. Yeah, so it's a question relating to like, there's a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I can say. So basically, like the leadership pack, the recruit pack. I have a question. Can any free-to-play user or person who doesn't pay the subscription but who got like the free game, like can they get like the DLC content, or do you need a subscription to get the DLC content?
Yeah, for Steam users, the DLC stuff, it's precisely driven for free players to gain one-time purchase unlock access. And the cool part about it is, even if you decide to subscribe and then unsubscribe, you're going to keep that stuff. So yeah, the answer to your question is yes.
Nice, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't normally subscribe to games because it's a commitment I have to make and I don't always have the money. So this is a nice way to try out.
That's precisely why we did that.
Okay. I also kind of wonder if anyone actually plays this game on Steam, because if you look at like the Steam page, it seems like there's not a lot of people playing it, and there's mostly negative reviews on Steam. Mostly it's due to people who are confused about like the subscription system, and they thought it was going to be a free to play game when it's not meant to be free to play. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a big can of worms, and I'd be happy to go over that in a bit. But
yeah, you still have a community that still plays the game.
Yeah.
As long as you have a community, the negative reviews don't really matter. So a lot of them are misinformed. So yeah.
Yeah.
I could play a whole load of bagpipe music for them. That'll keep them well confused.
Okay, guys. Well, I am going to start taking away access to talk now. We're just kicking over the time. as we are waiting for our population here to build up, I'm going to have some of our staff, if you look under the panelists section, we have quite a few people who are here, both as rats and who are non-rats, but contributors of CRS, all of which are important and helping to improve the game via fixing bugs, adding new content, and just generally improving gameplay where possible within their ability. So I'm going to have them just kind of go around and introduce themselves and quickly just say your name and quickly say what team you're on and briefly what you do as best you can. We're going to do that so people know who you are while our attendee list builds up. If you are going to be presenting today, CRS team, I will not be presenting for you. Get all of that ready now because I'm not going to be presenting. I'm simply going to be calling on you. Yes, and on that note, I asked CRS team members to get your camera ready. It's time to start kicking those on. I'm going to go grab my coffee, which is over there. You can't see that yet. Let's get that going. Let's see here. Hyla Silver, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Could you please, do you see all the panelists in the participation screen there?
No, I don't.
Excellent. Click participants button, and then you should see a pop-up.
Got it.
Okay. Now, do you see panelists? It says 19 right now.
Panelists. Yes.
Okay. Could you do me a favor while I'm grabbing said coffee? This is an important crisis. Start calling on each staff member, and we want them to introduce themselves via their name, their team, and briefly what they do. Can you go through that and call on some folks?
I can certainly do that.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay, well, let's start right at the top of my list anyway, is I'm looking at Sicking.
Hey guys, it's Seeking. I'm the QA team lead, where we do a lot of testing and checking of bugs and things like that. So, and that's it.
Okay, Bearded Mitch.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Mitchell Bearded Mitch. I work with the marketing team. Basically, I try to bring more exposure to World War II Online and get y'all more involved.
All right. And Boom Boom.
Yeah, hi guys. This is BMBM or Boom Boom, whatever you like. My name is Johan Kylander. I've been with the game since year 2000, and I'm now on the production team doing all kinds of stuff.
All right. And we have Chaos.
Chaos was kid. I play Axis in Vinhund. I work on the development team. I've been kind of the team lead for the 136 hybrid supply that Cirrus has been working on, and I'll be presenting some stuff on that and taking some questions on that.
Okay. We have B2K.
Oh yeah, I'm B2K with the community dev team. Basically do all the web-related stuff for the game.
And Jim.
Hi guys, Jim here. I'm the assistant team lead for the marketing team. A lot of stuff going on. Just trying to keep the communication and the awareness of the game to everybody.
And thank you, Hatch.
Morning, guys, or afternoon, wherever you may be. My name's Rodney Hodge, production lead. Been with the game since pretty much the beginning. Took a short hiatus back since 2016. And I coordinate with our environmental team members and Boom Boom and everybody involved with getting new equipment and objects and such into the game.
I'm going to jump in real quick. I've just activated my camera. I want the rest of CRS, if you haven't, please do that. It's really important for our community to see who you guys are. Continue, Iowa Silver, please.
All righty. Let's see. We have James 10.
Hi all, James 10. I basically do some stuff with the development team and try and fix things that are broken or make new stuff, which is pretty well the whole point. Anyway, have a good one.
All right. And JCD.
JCO4, assistant lead game moderator. I work with a team of players and other CRS members handling your dot reports.
And KMS.
Hey, my name's Kirk, obviously. I'm with the community management team, and my area of responsibility is making things smooth with the high commands and any other player support that I can, that comes my way.
And Morgan Lyons.
Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan, and I am part of the art team. I am a brand spanking new 3D environmental artist, and I will be building the assets you guys get to run and shoot through.
All right. And we have Whitman.
I'm one of the alpha and beta test guys. We help test all the new release clients and figure out all your bug reports, along with Zeke and SC King and Al.
Thank you. And Om.
Hello, everybody. Om here, game manager. Been here since 2006. Work with the game management team. Also do work with the high commands. Make sure that they're running smoothly. Their deployments are set for each game beginning. Any issues that arise in game is usually comes to my doorstep, and we try to resolve it as fast as we can. When it comes out to be coding stuff, then I kick it up to the coders stuff. But and also work with the support team when people can't get into game. Try to figure out what their issue is and hopefully resolve it.
Okay, and Pete.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I've been playing the game since 2003. Volunteered recently for the support staff. What I do is any tickets that come in through the support desk, I try to help people get into game. If they have billing problems or anything else support related, I help them out. Hope that was clear. Talk to you soon.
All right. And I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Hio Silver. I do training videos, trying to put things together to help those that are coming into the game and might need a little guidance and what to do and where to go. And I believe anybody else, did I miss anybody?
Yeah, maybe.
All right, Ryan, introduce yourself. What do you got?
Everyone, I'm Ryan, aka Ryan. I work in the marketing team, and one of my jobs is to shout this game out from every rooftop possible. I get this game out to as many people as I possibly can, and includes a lot of streamers out there. Let's have fun today.
He keeps a lot of people entertained. As you can see, he comes battle-hardened and prepared for war. Helmets at the ready. Hey, Mitch, I did activate the ability for camera. There you go. If there's other people on CRS, you should have ability now. We're waving jerseys. It's going to get real here. Let's take it easy. All right. I'll briefly introduce myself as well in case that wasn't done. I'm Zoom. Most of you know me by now. I'm the president of CRS, and I do a lot of different stuff. It's a long list. Ultimately, World War II Online being successful is that's my real world job. That's what I do. And this great team that's introduced themselves are a large component of the backbone. And there's still about 20 other people who are not here that are actively working to make all this happen and improve. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll be getting to questions near the tail end. We have a lot of different presentations that will be going on today. The goal of this RAT Chat, as any others, is to have the development team connect with you directly. As you can tell, we have representation from every team at CRS. There's a lot going on, and we have some really great stuff that's on the way to the game that you've not yet seen that we can't wait to unveil to you today. And we have other stuff going on too that we can't talk about. But the point is there's a lot of great activity going on. So let's see, who can we put at the presentation stage first? We'll be talking about 64-bit compliance status. We'll be talking about 136. We'll be talking about our production audits progress and reaffirm our commitment to realism. Today, we're also going to have some building tours of what I mean by that is we have new building objects in the game, and the artist who was working on that is going to walk you through it and explain what kind of inspired it. We have several different, 2 artists doing that and several different objects to show you. Boom Boom today is going to be sharing with you a lot of the work he's been very involved with and is leading, for that matter, on new vehicle development. And yeah, Jim's going to be talking about marketing stuff, and I'm just going to be here to help support today. So the team's going to do most of the talking. With that being said, Sniper62, are you ready to cover 64-bit?
Sure.
Okay. I'll share your screen and have at it. Your ball.
All right. 64-bit. I know you guys have been hearing about 64-bit for a while. We kind of thought we had a deadline there at the beginning of September with the Mac OS no longer supporting 32-bit applications. 32-bit's kind of going out of the way of programs these days, as basically every processor out there deals with or can deal with 64-bit applications. And basically what that's allowing it to do is the application's not single-threaded, so it can use multiple CPUs. So basically in our game, everything is being done by a single CPU, even though people nowadays have quad and up to 8 different CPUs within one that can manage a very large amount of bits at a second. Regardless, that means what our client and our hosts are dealing with are multiple things that are all happening at the same time, all being shoved down a pipe that is only so big, depending on the player, depending on their configs that they have in their computers. This creates problems with something that is example, the recent HE updates. We couldn't go fully historic to levels with specific bombs like the 250 SCs. That's a 250 kilogram German bomb that has a very large amount of shrapnel that it can produce every time it blows up. We couldn't go the full extent of the historic levels of thousands and thousands of shrapnel pieces due to the restriction of single-threaded applications. What's basically happening is your client drops, let's say, 8 bombs from a HE-111, and those bombs explode. From there, it's creating shrapnel and making the calculations of, this, that, and other in regards to the objects around the explosion and the players around the explosion. So what happens is once those numbers get too big, near the historic numbers, the client itself slows down because it has to stop, take a break, and calculate all those different trajectories, all those different masses, all those different damage effects for things around it. So we've actually had to step it back on certain things just like that. Not to say that the HE for the big bombs wasn't a big factor. It was. They were rounded up quite a bit, just not to historic tens of thousands of pieces of shrapnel due to that restriction. Anyway, from the grapevine, we've heard good news in relation to the Mac OS no longer supporting 64-bit in the regards of the release time period. From the sounds of it, sounds like the next release will kind of make things a little bit more annoying for the Mac players, but it won't fully stop them from using and launching the game. From the grapevine, it sounds like we've got until around the new year before we get to a point where the Mac OS no longer allows 32-bit applications. So we got some time to work with that, some breathing room, which at the moment allows us to kind of redirect development focus on high priority stuff at the moment. But in the aspect of 64-bit, one of our devs did quite a bit of work on retrofitting the PC client over to 64-bit from 32, and he's got about 90 to 95% of the way there for the PC client before it can get into QA's hands. I like to leave about 5% for QA and miscellaneous things that'll pop up during QA's testing and things that have to go back and forth to get fixed. So the PC client, like I said, is most of the way there. The Mac client is the next one up. Our primary Mac dev, our Mac expert dev, she's currently working on some higher priority stuff that popped up that we just noticed last month or so. She's working on that, which is server-side stuff in the background, not client-side facing. We're hoping that some of the fixes that she's putting into there in order to resolve the primary issue will solve secondary connection issues as well. Hopefully allows the game to stabilize a little bit better for you guys. And of course, from the host side of things. So anyway, that's 64-bit in a nutshell. From that point forward, after we get it through QA's hands and out to the players, in the future, we'll be able to look at multi-threading and separating those things, basically taking all those calculations for damage and trajectories and moving it over to a different CPU. That way your client doesn't hiccup. It just offloads it, it runs it, and then it comes back into the client and goes from there. So I think that's about the gist of 64-bit. As Zoom mentioned, the dev team is working on 136 as well. That's where the majority of the dev team is focused at the moment. Chaos is going to go into a little presentation and answer questions specifically on that. He's the project lead for 136 at this point. And yeah, it's going good. I don't think we got too much time left to wait for that one. I think that's going to be a big game changer, but he'll talk more about that. After that, we've got IVC, which is integrated voice comms. That's kind of a big focus or a big want by the player base. I think it's really would be another big game changer in the regards of just launching the game, being able to have voice communication directly within the game without having to launch an external application or signing up for an external application. We'll break it down into, I think we've had other discussions about IVC before, but it'll be broken down into larger areas, smaller areas, HC, vehicles, etc. So there's quite a bit on the horizon for that. Just recently, just a couple of weeks ago, there was an article put out about Vivox. If you don't know who they are, they're basically the developers of in-game comms for other large AAA titles, Fortnite, Battlefield, etc. So they've put out a notice that they're basically going to be allowing indie developers like us to utilize their product for free. And it's already kind of geared and meant for working with games and in games. So once we get to the IVC portion of development, after 136 gets out the door in 64-bit, then we'll be reaching out to them and seeing if their product will be indeed good for our game, which we're hoping for. Definitely, they've been down that road and will know what needs to be done and where to go. So I think those are the big things for the dev team at the moment. We've got some other things working in the background. Of course, as always, in bugs, we've got a maintenance patch coming up or is planned within the next couple months. We'll all be focused on looking at the game's like most prominent bugs, bugs that have been around for a long time and cause a lot of headaches for a quite extended period of time. So we working with the CRS team and the community team to reach out and deal with the players to find out what those items are and how we can focus on those items and get those knocked out. So be on the lookout for that. Big things coming up here at this end of this year. So I think that's about it for the dev team.
All right. Excellent. And as you guys can all hear, that all that information remains consistent with our roadmap. When CRS makes a commitment, particularly on our roadmap, and with the backing that you guys provided as part of one of our very important fundraisers, it's integral for us to deliver on those. We would have liked to gotten a couple of those items out already, but as we are a mostly volunteer-based team, we can only ask for your grace and understanding that there are a lot of people here who are really passionate, who are getting things done just as fast as their real-world schedule and obligations can allow them. That being said, as compared to 2 years ago, the amount of progress and speed that we're making and being able to jump on these hot fixes and the ability to deploy much faster and more accurately, for that matter, has greatly improved. So the three big topics he just went over, 136, 64-bit, and integrated voice comms. Just want to point out that's all consistent and remains top priority for us at CRS. The maintenance patch will definitely be a welcome thing as well. Well, Chaos, I hope you have your presentation ready. Other presenters that have your presentation, there's a green share button. If you want to test that somewhat, be careful not to actually display it, but you can click the button and get familiar with it. It's really important that we have some information to show the players and guide them. So, Chaos, are you ready to go? All right.
Yep.
Your ball.
Do you want to quickly explain, because we'll get to a Q&A at some point, the hand-raising thing? Because I don't have those buttons and I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So attendees should be able to, you should be able to raise your hand. If you hit participants on your user interface, if you're here anyways, we have folks who are watching via live stream elsewhere who cannot interact this way, but you should be able to hit more or raise your hand. Just highlight your cursor around your name under the attendees list. That's how we'll answer your questions later, but we won't be interrupting our presentations for that. All right, Chaos, go ahead.
All right. So to briefly explain something before I start the presentation, what you guys are about to see, if you're not aware of how programming stuff works, we use a branching methodology, which is very common in programming. You take a cut of the code that is the release client, and we branch that off. We put it in this like little box. Then we develop new content there, and we test it. We polish it. We finish it. Then we put it back to release, and then that goes into the clients that get tested by QA, and then go onto the public. So what you guys are about to see is a bit of code that's actually been taken quite a bit ago from where the release was. So there's going to be like some older stuff that you see. And now that 136 it's always been a high priority, but recently we've been able to get some other developers working on stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that's still being worked on in the background that's not going to be a part of the presentation. Because those are in their own little separate boxes that'll get pulled into this. And we've been getting a lot of great progress. There was actually something really big that got in last night, but we have not yet been able it was just too quick just last night, and I wasn't able to get everything over. So that won't be a part of the presentation. There'll be some stuff missing. Don't worry. It's just this particular box that we can show off and present. So share screen, and I want to show the why why do I not have, let's see, show all windows. There we go. Share screen. So you guys should be able to see the.
We do see it. Yep.
Okay. So persona select. I'm just gonna go. Let's do British. And so this is running on my local machine. This is kind of a debug thing. And you see flags everywhere in Germany and France and England. And oh man, there's flags way up over here. There's flags over in Den Haag. And yeah, I can't zoom out all the way. That's in, because like I said, this code was taken before some of that stuff came out. So this is as good as we can get it unless I like full screen it this way. So yeah, we have flags all over the place. What's that about? Every single town in the game that has an army base, a naval base, or an airfield will have a garrison in it. And so, for example, let's say that we have Warem right here. Warem has an army base right here. And if we highlight this, we highlight this, we have the Warem Army Garrison. And if we go over to Breskins, we have an army base and we have a naval base, and this has an army garrison and a naval garrison. If we go over to Vlissingen, this has a bunch of regular stuff in it. It's got the U.S. bomber wing and some other stuff, but you can see that it has the Vlissingen Army Garrison, Airborne Garrison, Air Force Garrison, Navy Garrison. The Airborne and the Air Force garrisons are separated because Airborne actually comes out of the Army persona and Air Force comes out of the Air persona. So that's why they're separated. So there's 4 different types of garrisons. They'll be all over the map. Now, we don't want, this is part of the thing that's still being worked on, and that's actually one of the things that got in last night. The end goal is that you'll only have the flags available when you have towns that touch each other of opposing sides. These are the frontline towns. So Gimblot will be active, Jodin, and sorry for French pronunciations, which I'm not very proficient at, will have, these will be active, these towns will be active, and one town behind the front line. So Hanut over here will be able to support Gizi and Jodin, because it's touching these frontline towns. However, for example, Warem will not be active because it's just too far away from the front. So even though all of these towns have garrisons, they have supply in them, you'll only really be able to use the stuff that's along the fronts. Another big thing about that, though, is that airfields and towns with naval bases will always be active. So, for example, if the Allies push all the way to Cologne and Dusseldorf and stuff, and all these will, they could, if they really wanted to, which I don't know why they would because there's closer stuff, if they really wanted to, they could fly bombers out of, they could fly bombers from here all, sorry map, why do you do this to me? I'm presenting. They could fly them all the way over to Dusseldorf if they really wanted to. So that's some pretty cool stuff. And like I said, that's being worked on separately out of what I have presenting to you guys right now. And I just went ahead. Oh, and how are you guys going to join into these garrisons? Because there's a whole bunch. You'll just go along and you'll find out where you want to go. And even though I'm British, I could, let's go to Namur. And I right-click on Namur and I say, okay, well, I want to go into the Army garrison. And this is in the game currently. There's some people that don't know that you can just not use the brigade roster. You can just go, boop, join brigade. I'm in the Army. And there's no mission, so we'll make a mission, and you can spawn right into the town. And there's supply. And you might notice that these are some pretty big numbers. And these are also, this is based off of numbers before the recent supply audit. That like kind of lowered things so that attrition was more impactful. So the old numbers were like the 250 stuff, and you'll see that these numbers are scaled up to 500. 250 for the riflemen, and now it's 500 because there are multiple army bases. So because there's 2 army bases, and where these numbers are not final, of course, the exact numbers, it's going to be handled by game management, by Zoom and stuff like that. Well, the idea is because this town is bigger, it has these 2 army bases, it's actually scaled so that there's roughly double the supply. We might not go with double, we might go with 150% supply and scale it that way. It's set up to handle 1 to 4 ABs, so it'll scale like that. Also, if towns have more than 1 dock, they'll also have increased naval supply, and there are no towns with more than 1 airfield, so don't have to worry about scaling there. And yeah, you'll be able to use these garrisons. You will be able to spawn into the game. You'll be able to also spawn from fire bases, stuff like that. So, and yeah, so I can just go to the airborne garrison, and I can just do this, create a mission, and I'm spawning out of the garrison, and boop, now I'm using garrison supply in the game right now. And if there are other people spawning stuff, we could have a pair mission out of Lissingen to wherever. So yeah, yeah, that we'll only really be able to use the towns that are adjacent to the front line, and towns that have really important facilities like airfields and naval bases and stuff like that. You might notice, and this is a big thing that we also have to, that we're very concerned about, putting a lot of attention on it, is that it kind of looks like there's a north-south split right here. With the old kind of, half of it is British and half of it is French and stuff like that. That is just because it's kind of what the garrisons are based off of who owns the town, and these towns are owned by Britain, and these towns are owned by France. So these French towns that are, this town is French owned in this little highlight. It has a French garrison. Same thing with British. That's just how the campaign starts. Once things get going, this is not set in stone. The North-South split was something that caused a lot of frustration back in the olden days, or so I am told, because I only joined around 2011. So that is not, there's not going to be a north-south split. It's not just going to be British up here in the north and the Z's and doing the stuff, and the French way down here, and it's not going to be that. You'll be able to have UK in the south, French in the north, US all over the place. So don't worry about like a north-south split coming back or anything like that. Another big thing is that Allied HC will be able to, we're going to have an automated system. Whenever you take a town, the town that gets taken, there's going to be some logic applied there that will give the town to some of the surrounding forces that took it. And so, like, if these French towns take this town, then it's probably be French. There will be, what we're going to also do is make sure that you can't just take, like, US is on the map, and let's say that Allied HC really loves US and everyone likes playing with US supply and just want to get rid of France. Don't really want to just delete features from the game. So we're going to make it to where you can't basically just delete a side. The sides that are in the game, the countries that are in the game will all have to have some amount of control. So the automated system will, give the town to the kind of countries that took it over. But if there's like too many towns owned by one side, then HC might get an alert that's like, hey, you have too many French towns, not enough UK towns. Please fix, set something that's French to UK, something like that. So Allied HC will have the ability, and that's something that's being worked on right now. I don't have it up, to where they can just take a town and they can just say, okay, I'm going to turn this to UK control. And when they do that, the town will flip to UK control. There will probably be like a cooldown time or stuff like that. And that garrison that's French will be turned into a UK garrison with UK supply. So the automated system will by default try to keep things rational. But if ever there's a situation where things kind of don't make sense, or Allied HC is like, oh man, like France took this over, but we really, really, really wanted it to be UK, or we really wanted it to be US. We're going to give them the ability to do that, so they'll be able to have this override. And that's not meant to be like the main thing that happens. It's not going to be more desk jockeying for the Allied HC. We're trying to move away from that. The point of this is that if they run into a situation where they'd rather have some other control of a town, they can do that. That's freedom. It's an extra option. It's not an obligation. We're not, there's the default system will handle it for, trying for 99% of cases. But if there's a 1% case where they're not cool with it, they have the power to change it. There will be some restrictions on that because kind of with the same thing where we don't want to just delete a country from the game. They're not going to be able to, set every single town to US or every single town to French or every single town to UK. There will have to be a mix. We also don't want it to be abusable, but also not griefable. So, HC won't be able to, because let's be honest, if there's a way to game a system, people are going to try to game the system. We don't want a situation where some member of HC is like, okay, everybody spawn out of, let's say Gemblow right here, spawn out all the supply out. It's like, okay, head to Jordan Lean, and then it's like, boom, we're going to flip the French, and now it has French supply, and now it's 100% French supply. We don't want that to happen. So we're looking at exact numbers, but kind of the idea, and as we get closer, we'll probably consult with Allied HC and different CRS members and stuff like that to make sure that, the players will be very receptive to what we're going to do. We very much want people to be happy with what we're doing. So some restrictions on that, to where if it's like 2 deleted, sorry, a message just popped up.
Okay.
So where if it gets,
we're going to need to start wrapping up here. So get to the footnotes, please.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, just some restrictions on that so that it's not gameable, and also so nobody can sneak over and like deplete supply and then screw over Allied HC for trying to change stuff. So that's that idea. Since we're trying to wrap up, I will go ahead and start taking questions. Or is there no time for questions? Did I take up too much time?
No, yeah, definitely. We're gonna prepare those questions near the end. Right now, we're just trying to blast through presentations. And I've asked for everyone who's observing to get their questions written down on a piece of paper and to wait until we get there. So this concludes the presentation. Close it down.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was really cool. 136 is something that you guys have been waiting for a while. We know we want to get it done. That's some really great progress. There's more happening, and I think there's with the additional people helping out on that, it's moving along pretty nicely at this stage. One team member who is not here is Merlin. One of the most requested things from you guys has been via our polling. Well, it's a series of things. There's a lot of wants and demographics that we need to appeal to, but it has been the playable environment or terrain. Merlin 51 and 5 have been working within the terrain editor, doing great work, and it's very difficult because they're using very dated software. That's part of the gig here at CRS, working on World War II Online these days. I'm going to do the best I can. I didn't write this, but he really wants me to share it, and he can't right now. So I'm going to share his presentation really quickly. I'm going to move fast. And there's some decent information within it. So just give me one sec to get that PowerPoint up. Can you guys see it? Yes? Yeah? Okay, excellent. Okay, so briefly, the World War II Online Terrain Expansion Project. I'm just literally going to read what he's got and go fast, so pay attention. Okay, that's a nice animation. So 2017 and 2018 has brought many terrain fixes to the game. One new town was seen, Varingeville-sur-Mer. Okay. Players witness hints of change as they saw landscapes outside the play areas changing. Antwerp became a zone city, allowing true intercity fighting. That was awesome, as did Brussels, correct? We have a lot of activity up here in the north. As you can see, this is the Zeeland area. But what you're now seeing is only a shadow of the end of the Zeelands being cut as the Germans are getting some more territory built in Holland. This has been very important for us that we get some more playable area going on. There are several large zone cities and naval facilities, and yes, airfields in the north. You can see two right here on the screen. You can also see how this is developing if you go into game right now. You can see a lot of this stuff. Supply lines were linked further back into the mainland lines east. And Den Haag, you can't really see it right here too well, but it's been moved there. However, the DD non-capturable port to the north is still there. It was just historically in the wrong place. The objective is to keep the Zeelands in play for a lot longer. And as we get to 136 becoming a thing, that will certainly be the case. All right. So the French coastline has also begun to push westward. The deepwater port at Fécamp becomes accessible. This area will eventually extend south past Rouen and west to Le Havre. Doing my best with that. The groundwork goes all the way to Cherbourg. You can see this in game right now, which is great. That's awesome. Huge amount of hours gone into this. So Paris in 24. Under cover of heavy construction, this area will bring us to the doorstep of our first capital city. For now, it will remain under wraps. Have to leave some surprises, but you can peek at the construction. So that'd be down here. You can look at all this stuff in game right now if you go check it out. Here is how it will all tie with the Northwest coast. So special thanks to our fundraisers, absolutely, and field marshals. All right, Field Marshal Ness. He's got Ness's authentic Texas-style barbecue. That's a CP that was added. One of the perks of that fundraiser was, for that level, was you get your own facility name and how you want it to our best ability. So that's cool. LaFleur got the Blanche Cabaret, as you can see. Kilo 33 got something as well. That was Sabrina's Cabaret. There's something about these cabarets, guys. Yeah, 7th AST as a squad. You guys got your monument as well. Looks like you have a nice battle sheep there too. I think this is Danant. It looks sure looks like it. Field Marshal Coastal as well, who's here with us today. You got an armory. That's awesome. Congrats. And that concludes this presentation. So Merlin51 put that together. Thank you to him and Five for an extraordinary amount of work. These guys are doing big things, and that stuff is not easy. Okay, now that being said, I'm going to call on Hatch. Hatch is the production team lead. He's going to talk to you today a little bit about some of the audits we've been doing. And Hatch, if you can get your presentation going, that's your ball.
Howdy, folks. So, try to keep it short and sweet here, but as informative as possible. So, I'm going to go over quick. As Zoom said, we've made huge strides in the last couple of years. It's really, pretty mind-boggling from the even from the inside here, where we were, as many 5 years ago at the demise of the other team members and stuff. So where we've gone is just pretty remarkable in such a short time here. So I'm going to go over the accomplishments first. So let's see here. It started primarily with new vehicles. When I came back to the team in 2016, I brought some of that knowledge, how that works. And so we, as you can see here, we've got, you know, the SD, KFZ, Spas, the Crusaders, JU-80, the Tank Busters with the JU-87G2, the Hurricane Mark II-D, Bell 26. We've also got the Hurricane Mark II Prairie Bomber, the 109 J-Bows, Stu 42, the combat support vehicles, Vickers 15 millimeter, an Italian Rifleman SMG, various smoke rounds. Kind of made it from just grenades to actual vehicle deployed rounds as well. Buildings and terrain, as Zoom just showed you with Merlin. Merlin is and 5 are those are the guys. Those are the terrain guys. We've had a terrain from Doc sitting around since 2011, I think it is, where we just weren't able to verify to make sure it was all, it wouldn't crash everything. And for whatever reason, they didn't get it in there. Well, that is now in the game, and as well as all the new expansion that you guys have seen. We're also working on a new vehicle. So we've got 2 new bunkers that, and new barracks. I'm just going to, as I said, here, plenty more to discuss, but I'm going to leave that up to Ripper. He can talk about him and his team, outstanding group of guys and gals. Can go ahead and take care of that. Our audits. So we did the 109. First task was to fix the 109 flop. And then we did kinetic energy projectiles. We've done high explosives. And we've got one of the later requests is a historic order of battle that looking at our TOEs and the current list of spawnables and numbers primarily is a hand-me-down from Zoom inherited it, and Zoom and Ohm, and they're doing the best they can to keep everything coordinated and, you know, in a proper balance and everything. But we had no real historical baseline with which to refer to for anything as far as ratios of one type of a weapon system compared to another type employed by one side, or what those were on a budgetary sense from to employ. So we have just wrapped up all of the information that does that for all sides. In progress, small arms, airframe damage, and we've been looking at anti-aircraft and anti-tank mobility, some of the issues with them flipping and so on and so forth. We're making progress there. Waiting in line is the armor audit for all vehicles, the vehicle mobility, such as trucks and tanks and so on and so forth. And then we'll finally get back to the rest of the flight models and stuff. Now, those are going to be long-term projects where we'll do 2 or 3 vehicles a patch, and then move on to the next 2 or 3 vehicles, try to keep them both even from a tier perspective and on an equal combatant perspective. So 3 of each bottom tier for all 3 combatants, and then we'll go to the next and so on and so forth. But those are long-term projects. A lot of work to do there, both in research and then data implementation. New vehicles. I've listed all the ones that are already in the game. What I haven't talked about is what's in progress or sort of on the shelf, waiting for some final touches and implementation. And Boom Boom is here to take care of that. Now, the last thing I wanted to touch base on is historical performance. when we set out to start this project in the beginning, it was to make everything. Excuse me, kind of wrapping up from a cold here. Make everything as real as the environment as realistic as it can possibly be, and then turn it over to the players. Now, since then, we've grown into different things. We've gone through things like whack-a-mole and balance concerns and so on and so forth. So we're following trying to stick as close to historical performance as possible, but within realistic constraints to keep the game fun. I mean, if there's an example where one side has a ton of heavies armor and the other side doesn't have any heavy armor. Well, I mean, that's historic, but it's not going to work out very well for the side that doesn't have, something to combat that with. So that's the context. So we've spent countless of hours researching, cross-referencing the data that we use to do this with. It has been and always and will and remains one of the highest priorities we have here, especially with this new team. We've, since we've been going into data, we've found quite a few things here and there that need adjusting, which is why you see all the audits and such on the roadmap. So that research and testing is one of the primary reasons that audits take so long. While many of us enjoy researching this kind of stuff, we do research it to use it. It's not like we go spend hours and hours and hours researching this stuff and then say, whatever. Any inferral or nuance otherwise is just plain crap. Another problematic issue with weapon auditing, but it is a realistic problem, is that it's a two-part process. So I can have the most concentration, non-exclusive model that we can program, but that's only half the equation because I still have to make that work with what it is. So we have done one side of that, and we're very satisfied with its current performance for itself. However, there have been some anomalies in relation to some of the vehicle classes that we need to address. It showed up in the infantry with grenades at the moment. Now, I'm not going to go too much into that, but there's also, the Hollywood version versus the realistic version. And so, with the data, once we have it set historically, we will be sharing data that shows, hey, this is what real life says. So I hope you guys will, at least take that into consideration whenever we're talking about this stuff in the future. So, as well to complete projectile target interim until these trouble vehicles can be corrected. So, the bottom line is we're doing everything possible to provide as close in the interim where some of these things aren't exactly right. One's waiting for an audit or waiting for a build environment so that I can do some testing a certain way. What we will do is everything possible to provide as close to expected realistic results at the best of our ability at that time. And so all we ask, until it is as best as it can be coded, bear with us during that process and use the .bug reports to help us make sure that, any other anomalies that you might encounter are noted and can be addressed. And that's all I really have here. So with that, I'll give it back to Zoom.
All right. Excellent. Well, there's been a lot of awesome work there. You're still sharing your screen there.
Yeah.
Zoom meeting. No.
Oh, yours.
There you go. Whew. All right.
They didn't see anything but some pictures, some environmental work.
No big deal. All right. You guys almost saw some stuff you weren't supposed to. So
I expect it to be part of the presentation when Ripper shows up. So I didn't.
All right. anyway, all the work going into the audits, as you just saw, it's very time consuming. It's not easy. We also realize the weight of it, as it can affect, it does dramatically affect gameplay, and there's risk in putting that stuff out there. But ultimately, I asked Hatch just to make sure that he gave you guys some details, because there's a lot going on. But ultimately, our mission is to reaffirm to you all, to the very best of our ability, without breaking the game, we want to make World War II Online in its entirety as realistic that we can. But there are limitations. It is a game. It's not reality. And we also need to very carefully balance the fun factor. So just sort of a broad stroke there of making sure our commitment is clear. So, all right. So Boom Boom was mentioned there. He has so much juicy stuff in terms of pictures. He's chomping at the bit and has been for a while to share it. He's got a big grin on his face. He's ready to go today. After that, we're going to move to Morgan, who's going to share with us some environment stuff. And then Ripper, you're also going to go through yours shortly after Morgan. Okay? So Boom Boom, the floor is yours. I hope you guys are excited for this.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to start off and say that I came on the team in November. And now I started to become, well, effective by February, doing all kinds of interesting stuff, making gun sites and whatnot. But since February, I've been almost 100% active with Creator, which is our modeling program for all kinds of vehicles and buildings and stuff. And I started out with some easy barrel changes, doing the close support vehicles and some, well, easy stuff. But now I'm getting really into this thing now, and I'm going to share my screen with some of the latest production. Let's see here. There we go. You see this?
Nope, not yet.
Yeah, now you should see it.
Nope, not yet. So click the share button, click what you want to share, and there's an OK.
Shit. Okay, let's go. Now then, there we go.
There, yep.
Share screen. Yay!
I got it.
Fun. Okay, so after the easy barrel changes, I started with cockpits, well, aircraft and tanks and stuff. And this is one of the works in progress, the P40, to bring more detail and historical accuracy to the air war. So this is the, well, you can see the completely different layout from what you're used to in the P40. Shit, how do I switch? There we go. So that's your down view in the new cockpit. More details and stuff. And this is the important thing to see here is that we have imperial gauges with gallons and miles per hour instead of kilometers per hour. So we're getting more dedicated US aircraft into the game. And one of these, the first there will be the P-40F fighter bomber, which is in pipeline. The new paint job. And we have the French as well, packing a 100 kilogram bomb. Also fresh paint job. This one will probably retain the original gauges that we have in the P40 or the H87, H81 that we have today. And we'll also be putting in a Kiddo Hawk Mark II, which is also the P40F, packing a bomb as well.
It's a beautiful aircraft. Love that nose art, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. These are all, well, pics taken offline. We have them up and running. We just need to fix some details in the data files and make sure they go through well through Q&A. And then you can lay your hands on them. Spoke about getting US aircraft into game. We have already the P-38F in game. You can try it out offline, and then you have the invasion stripes and that. So we wanted to change that and revert to a pre-invasion livery, which we have here. And that too will be going into the game somewhere down the pike. As soon as I can get around to switching out the French gauges for American ones. And that's the added kit. Here we have the Focke-Wulf 190 A3, lugging a 250 SC bomb, also with a slightly revised paint scheme. These things are pretty easy to do. We just actually put on a bomb rack, add the bombs that we already have in game, change a bit of colors and some data files, and whammo, we have a new unit. Other stuff that's coming, been in the pipeline for quite a while now. I need to do some minor tweaks to the textures and stuff and go through Q&A. We have a pretty mean little boy here, the Panzer IIIL, which has a 50mm long gun. The successor to the J version that we already don't have in the game. But this is rather more powerful than the Panzer IIIF that we have. It's a good upgrade, and it will last you well into tier 3. Further there in the same family, the last upgrade in the Panzer III series is the Ausführung M with Schürzen. This one packs the 75mm low pressure gun, and this is essentially a escort vehicle for the more valuable tanks, the Tigers and the Panzer IV-H and so forth. Other kit that may be coming down the lane as we work on. So the Schürzen, they look nice. They are, if I remember correctly, 5mm thick and 8mm thick around the turret. They don't stop a lot of ordinary ordnance in the game, but you'll have some benefit from that. And they look pretty cool, I think. More Schürzen, this time on the Panzer IV, Ausführung H. This is also a work in progress. I need to do some more heavy lifting on the actual Schürzen. Other than that, they are more or less ready to go. So you will see this pretty soon in game. Hope I'm not going too fast through this here. Otherwise, you'll probably get to see these pictures again in the forums or separate presentation. More Schürzen, and at long last, perhaps a weapon station for the Stug 8, Stug G. This one has a very limited traverse, like 15 degrees to either side, I think. But it'll give you some anti-infantry capability at last. This one is a bit further on beyond the horizon, probably late this year, as we solve some issues with just the weapon station and the team or the crew, how they interact. But this one, it's actually coming. And then we have the allied kit, the 17-pounder self-propelled Achilles, which is M10 with a 17-pounder gun. Pretty powerful thing that comes in at tier 4 or tier 4.5 as we progress to half tiers sometime this year, I hope, so that we can get some more fidelity in terms of when units are introduced into the game. So this one packs punch, and it's pretty fast, as you know. Backside is that the turret traverse is still as slow as the M10. And I think finally we have the Sherman Firefly, which is also all but done. Some minor texture work and Q&A, and you should be driving this around the battlefield before long. This is also tier 4 vehicle, late tier 4, I'd say. And there won't be very many of them, around, well, 25 or 20% of standard vanilla Shermans will be Sherman Fireflies. And let's see what I have more. Yeah, the final image I have for you is just a little bit of peek behind the curtains of the Curator software that we're using to build stuff. This is the Firefly, as you can see. And just to change a gun, you have to, of course, delete the old one, and you have to put the new one in. You need to have the object, and it needs to fit into a rather extensive mesh of or framework of how the game reads objects. So that's where the lower part of the screen here is the various LODs, levels of details, and all the DOFs, the degrees of freedom, how we move things about. And for every little wheel or every head that needs to move or a gun that needs to traverse, we have to manually set degrees of freedom, and everything needs to be commented, as you can see here, with elevate and well, all these data then has to be managed for the game in separate data files. So just adding a gun isn't a 5-minute job. It takes a week or two, and then you may need some textures and you need Q&A. So you need to have some understanding of the amount of work that goes into adding stuff as easy as a gun or as complex as an entirely new vehicle, which may be months or maybe more than a few months to get into the game. And well, that about concludes my part here, I think. How do I get out?
Well, a hell of a job there, Boom Boom. I know that you've been putting in a lot of time with that. The research that goes into getting all that right, plus the artwork, plus the data directory and the structure, plus the host side setup, and then all the fixes in between. And that just gives you a bit of a glimpse about what the process is for us to introduce even variants. It's not easy. It's very complicated. And that software is also not cheap.
I should maybe just add also here that this that I've presented here is just what is in the immediate pike, so to speak, and it represents about 10-15% of what we have currently scheduled to add into the game. And there's, as far as we know, no further limit for how many vehicles we can put in to the game. There's lots more coming.
Yeah. Well, that's really good stuff, guys, and I hope you felt the sheer awe of that. We've been wanting to get it out for a while, and there you go. A lot of good stuff happening. There's more going on beyond that as well that's not being announced yet. So hats off to the production guys. Well done. Well done. Okay, Morgan, are you there?
Hello.
Are you ready for your presentation?
Yes. So I guess to introduce myself again, I am the one of the newer 3D environmental artists, and my first project on this team has been revamping some of the city blocks. So I will now share my screen and share. So this is sort of the layout of the building. I had about 5 buildings or so to redo. And one of my main priorities in creating this area has been increasing gameplay that is multi-layered. So all of these buildings, I'm very sure, have either roof access or will have roof access. And they have balconies so people can snipe down as people run through the city, or people can run up to the snipers and surprise them as well. Also, there are a bunch of new alleyways, which before this whole block was just one big shape. So they used to, you couldn't run through the buildings, you couldn't like flank people around corners or in alleyways either. As with all of the people who work at CRS, one of my main priorities was keeping things in line with the historical theme. So all of these buildings have been referenced to either, this is a restaurant that was occupied in France by German invaders. This was a hotel in Italy. And this is a cafe apartment complex that I found in, I actually don't remember where I found that one. It was probably in France. So all of these, like in a lot of buildings in the cities in Europe, have little shop fronts and then larger apartment buildings on top. So this one's going to be a baker, a butcher, and other sort of little storefronts on this one. Whoop, sorry. I hope I'm not spinning around too much for you guys. One of my favorite additions so far to these buildings is this one, which has a little courtyard area with a fountain, which I think will be fun to both shoot down from and run through. And as you can see, there's like going to be a lot of vegetation and stuff to sort of break up the sort of city concrete brick atmosphere. And I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions about what I've done at the end, you can ask me in QA. And thank you so much.
Yeah, excellent presentation. I think the guys can very quickly tell there's one really important part about these buildings other than all the awesome stuff that you've just demonstrated. And that is the ability to go through. These are all these rooms, the whole building, and all of them are going to be accessible, which currently they are not. All of our buildings will have a secondary damage state. And rooftop access is something that this team really wants to restore. There was so much great gameplay, and it's coming back. And this is a demonstration of that coming back. Ripper, you're going to be the next presenter. Since you're charged with leading the whole environment effort, is there anything else you wanted to say about Morgan stuff before going to your presentation?
No, I think that's a great presentation. Just want to say good morning from Seattle. My name is Ripper, and I'm the environment lead for CRS. I work directly with Hatch and Zoom and Merlin. As you know, he puts all the objects onto the game map. And right now, we're currently bringing back some old favorites to the game. As you guys might be aware of, the office bunker, which is what people used to refer to as the army base bunker. We're also bringing back the large Pentagon bunker, which some people might be familiar with that as well. And we're starting off kind of just going through each area of the most commonly featured items in the game and upgrading those first. So with that said, let me go ahead and show you what we're doing. Let's see if I can share my screen here.
While you're doing that, these bunkers have been some of the most requested and high priority items from the players. What you're about to see is simply badass. And it's going to be a total kill fest, so get ready. This is going to be awesome.
See if I'm on the right screen here. Sorry, folks.
You can see the game world looks like offline mode.
All right, what do we see on your guys' end?
Car 98 staring at a bunker. And
yeah, that's
press Y if you're going to use that to actually be interface.
The small bunker.
Yeah, I'm gotta see right here. Okay, sorry about that. On the right screen here. Okay, this is the army base bunker.
Can you
used to be that.
Sorry, can you hit Y, please? The Yankee key. Thank you.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So as far as the old game textures were concerned, the game originally had really small textures. The textures were like 16 by 16, which were really blurry, not very good, not high resolution. So what we're doing is we're upgrading all those textures to modern game day standards. A lot of games use 512 by 512 or 1024 by 24 or 2048 by 248 or even as high as 4096, but we're not kind of going there yet. We're going to wait on the 4096 stuff for 64-bit and multi-threading. So with that said, I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour of the new office bunker, as we call it, and production, which you guys refer to as the old Army-based bunker. If you guys weren't here from the beginning, or I think prior to 2000, I want to say 12, I think that item was removed from the game. So if you were here before that, you'll remember this bunker and kind of what the features are and kind of the layout. Me and Hatch and Zoom have kind of gone through some interactive sessions together to kind of refine what it used to be and make it a little bit more exciting and challenging as far as gameplay is concerned. So with that said, I'll give you a little bit of a tour. Kind of going with some worn texture looks on the outside. Zoom in so you guys can see that. This is a 2048 by 2048 texture. We've added some broken bits and pieces to the concrete, kind of give it that worn effect. So it doesn't look like it's just made yesterday. My screen might be a little bit laggy. You can see there's different textures for the floor, the hallway, the door frame threshold. In the new bunker, we have some lighting that goes on. We don't actually have lighting in the game as far as the for each object yet. That will be like something that comes down the road in the future. We have the overall game engine renderer that renders the light right now. So these lights are not functional, but they're there just for looks. So it kind of adds a nice look and feel to it. And here's the first murder hole that you come into the bunker. If you played the game before, you know that this is one of the places where a lot of the action happens in this main hallway when you enter the bunker. I can remember in my days with the 31st Wrecking Crew, we would camp an AB and then we would get a bunch of guys loaded up on a pole and we would do a bunker rush. And a lot of us would die in this hallway, which created a lot of laughs and a lot of fun on our TeamSpeak channel. So this is one of the main features of this bunker. It's got some pretty high resolution textures right there. As you turn down the first corridor here, this is pretty much unchanged. This corridor right here is gonna create a kill zone, a pathway to the rest of the bunker. Inside the bunker, we've added some furniture and some different items that weren't there before. It was pretty much empty. It was a bare floor. You'll notice that on the right-hand side here, we have some lockers that are like a World War II style designed German wardrobe locker. Over here, we have a desk, an officer's desk that we've added some nice touches to, a lamp, different things like that. Over here, we have a document from CRS right on the desk that you'll be able to read. We have some cool things that are in the game that are kind of like Easter eggs that you guys can go through and find, but you'll see them once you're in game, and you'll once these bunkers are in game, you'll be able to find those. So right here, you can see the difference in the textures. Before, they were just like one solid concrete texture for the entire bunker, with the exception of the outside. So we've added a whole bunch of different textures and give it a higher resolution look and feel to make it look nice. I'm going into the upper portion of the bunker. If I'm going too fast, it's just because I have a lot of windows open on my machine. It might be kind of jumping around here. But you can see, looking down the stairs from the top part of the bunker to the lower part of the bunker, we added this handrail here because people were falling off from the top floor to the bottom floor before in the past version. On the top portion of the bunker, there is 8 murder holes that face out towards the outer part of the bunker. Get a quick tour of the top here. It's kind of going around here to the top of the bunker. You look at some of the windows, you'll notice that there's camo netting, which has been added to the top part of the bunker to kind of give it a more immersive feel. So you're not going to be just looking out at just what you see out from the ground. There's a little bit of cover and concealment in some of the windows. Some crates and things that are upstairs that you can kind of hide behind if people get into the bunker. Just different views. Now I'm going to go back downstairs. I'll try to go slower so it's not so laggy here. Now, if you see these are 2 additional murder holes that have been added to the bunker. So what that's going to create is a lot more intense fighting, a lot more difficult gameplay. It's going to be a lot more challenging to capture the bunker. Just having 1 murder hole inside the bunker before, it was kind of a challenge to get in there in the past, and now in the future, there's going to be a little bit more. This right here sets up an effective kill zone coming around the corner of the stairs into the bunker. So you'll have that one, and then you'll have this one on the side that also helps cover that entryway right there as well. Going into the main portion of the bunker where the radio cap is. Right now, the way the capping features are set up is so that when you're on the bottom floor or the top floor of like most objects, I think that's the way it is with the farmhouse, army base bunker, you can actually cap the building. We're going back to a radius around the radio. So it's going to be a bit more of a challenge. You can't just be just inside the doorway to capture the radio or upstairs in the hallway. Now you'll have to actually be near the radio to actually capture the building. So inside the bunker, you'll notice there's furniture where there wasn't before. I think I kind of covered that a little bit, but they're strategically placed. We've kind of went over this in a lot of interactive sessions to kind of give it the best options for gameplay, placing these objects around. You can see there's in certain spots, so you'll be able to pick out your favorite places to be inside the bunker. Now we have a restroom. We didn't have that before. Got some help with MKW on the production team. We added some of that stuff into the bunker just for some looks and some fun effects. Yes, there's a toilet right there. Didn't have that stuff before. And over here, we have the main murder hole, which is where everybody dies coming into the bunker primarily. So that's the view from that. And so this is just the first part of the new features that we're adding to the game to make it look better and increasing some different things. So with that said, I'll go around the outside of the bunker and you guys can take a quick peek at that. Let me get outside here. Right now we have the Imperial flag. That's just a default thing until it's actually linked in the game. It will actually change to what it's supposed to be. So from the outside, you can see that it's a much higher resolution, much nicer looking, much more refined version. You can see there's, if you're asking why there's steel rebar on the sides of the roof, that's to hold on camo netting, kind of give it a worn effect, a worn look. All the way around, rust coming from the metal pieces on the structure of the building. So with that said, that is the Army base bunker, as you guys know it. Let's see if I can share different screen here. How do I do that Zoom?
What was the question?
How do I share another screen?
Stop sharing and then re-enable the share you want. But when we get to the Pentagon bunker, we're going to need the expedited version. We've been here for an hour and 24 minutes, and we're dragging it on. We got a lot to show today, but we need to move on to customer questions. So expedited, please. Thank you. So looks like you're still in the, there you go. Good.
All right. Okay. Let's see here. Give me a second and I'll pull up the other one.
Is that the new hotel?
All right. I can't even see what's showing on my screen is different from everybody else's.
It's like we're looking at the barracks right now.
Okay, this is the barracks right here. This is a project that I gave to MKW. She's on our team. She's a great artist. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on here. If you guys are used to what it used to be like before, you know, there's kind of like just a gray, dingy box with low resolution textures. So what we've gone through and added some furniture in here, which you guys can see. I'm going to kind of pan around slowly to add to what you guys have already seen. We added some details, some small things to kind of give it a more realistic look. Kind of the home away from home feel if you guys are in the military. We added some pictures and stuff like that. All the resolutions went from 128-bit by to 2048 inside this object. Now, if you look here, one of the features that we used to have like basically a slide to get down and out of the building, which was blocked before. These stairs now are basically you can go up and down the stairs. You didn't used to be able to do that before. There's more furniture in the bottom of the spawn and also places to hide. So like when people are coming into the spawn, which is capable of doing, you'll be able to take them out. The upstairs portion of the spawn is, for those that are wondering, is a non-kill zone. So if you go up there and you're basically trying to camp the spawn, that won't be able to happen. So on the outside of the spawn, you can see that we've added some grass and some other features to it. Just different things like that. It's a 2-level spawn, like it is now, but it has a nice camouflage job on the outside of it, where before it was just kind of like a flat metal. You can see that. So that's what MKW has been working on, and I'll go ahead and show you the new Pentagon bunker, if I can find it. Okay, so this is the new Pentagon bunker. We brought this back because we felt like this is another feature that added a lot of fun and gameplay. It's a much more of a beast than it used to be. There was only three murder holes in it. Now we're talking about 21 different murder holes inside and outside the edges of the bunker to get around. It used to be a lot smaller. Now there used to be only 2 levels. Now there is 4 levels inside this bunker. We added some different things like foliage to the terrain around outside the bunker, an updated feel to it. This is something that you'll probably be seeing down the road as far as the overall feel of the game, different foliage and stuff like that, but we won't get into that now. We'll just go straight into the features of this bunker. Okay, it's got the camo net on there like it used to have before. Some of you may recognize that this first entrance to the bunker has kind of changed a little bit. There used to be a bigger dirt berm that went all the way up the edge of this wall. We changed that so that people can't just run on top of the bunker like they used to be able to. Here's the first murder hole that everybody is pretty much familiar with over the years. And as we turn into the main hallway here of the entrance, we added this kind of door so that people can hide behind. Added some new textures and stuff like that. You can see there's another murder hole right there. Come around the corner here and different hallway. This layout has changed. So when you guys are coming into the bunker, it's going to be much more difficult to navigate. It's going to be much more challenging to capture the bunker. There's going to be a lot more defense inside of it to be able to protect the bunker from being captured. A lot of changes happen inside the layout as far as everything is concerned, the overall layout of the bunker. You can see there's a lot of hallways, a lot of places, nooks and crannies to hide behind. There's a view going down the main entrance. You also have multiple views of different angles that go to the outside. This is one of the views to one of the original entrances to the outside Pentagon, the exterior wall of the bunker. I'm just going to go down the hallway here and show you different features. As you can see, it's kind of a maze in here. But after you get used to it, you'll know the layout well because you'll probably be spending quite a bit of time in here defending against caps. We went through this design together in interactive sessions and decided to put different objects in different places that kind of make it more immersive and a different feel. So now we're getting into the heart of the bunker. We changed the area where you capture the bunker from to more of an interior area. And we had a lot of empty spaces before that were inside the walls of the original bunker that weren't used. And so we elected to put different items into that area and utilize that space where we hadn't before. So I'm just kind of go around through the bunker and you can see different spaces and nooks and crannies. Yes, we have toilets. Different areas, little nooks and crannies that you can hide in. Won't get into too much of that stuff. But as you can see, kind of almost every corner that you go around, there's different places where you can defend the bunker from. Going up the stairs into the interior of the bunker, you can kind of see that there's much higher resolution textures, normal mapping and specular mapping that are involved with the new next generation of graphics that are coming along in objects from CRS. If you pay attention, you'll remember where the capture point is. I'm kind of going to that right now so you guys can kind of see that area. And ta-da, we have the radio capture right here. So as you can see, it's going to be very challenging and difficult to get into capture this bunker. So let me go ahead and go to the other portions that you guys may be more familiar with and a couple new features to the bunker. Sorry, my screen's really lagging here because of all the different windows I have open here. Just a second, let me kill another window or two here. Okay. All right. So before, in the old bunker, taking a look down from the top of it, it was just basically like this block surface on the top. We've added some different features, including rooftop access, which we talked about before. As you can see, here's a new channel path to the top of the bunker, and a new entrance into the top of the bunker, which wasn't there before. So if you're on those para missions and you're hopeful to capture an AB, now that is a possibility. So that'll create a new gameplay feature for everybody. As far as defending the bunker, you have four ports that have a 360-degree coverage of the outside of the bunker that you'll be able to defend from. So you can see everything is much higher resolution, textures and stuff like that. So that's the Pentagon bunker for you guys. If you guys have any questions about any of that kind of stuff afterwards, you can put it in the Q&A and I'll be more than happy to respond to that. And that is my presentation part for what's coming up as far as like the bunkers are concerned. With the other stuff that's coming up in the future, like I said, I'm working with Hatch and Merlin and Zoom, upgrading all the textures and stuff like that. We have different city blocks that are coming along in the pipes right now we're working on. So that'll add more gameplay features to it, like we talked about. In the near future, we're going to be upgrading into a different speed tree version. So you guys will get much more realistic looking foliage and terrain objects. And eventually down the road in the distant future, we'll be adding realistic satellite mapping, SRTM digital terrain, and realistic roadways and surfaces. So that's all I got.
All right. We'll take it easy on setting us up for really big commitments there, dude. All right. It's all what we want, but we are the safer bet is to say we're exploring those things and seeing what we can do. Okay. Excellent work though. Those bunkers have been requested for a very long time, and it's awesome. Guys, we're pretty well done. I'm going to let Chim, I'm sure you prepared something to say on behalf of the marketing team and outreach. Let's just make that real quick and let's get right into questions because we've been here a while. Lots of information to share with you guys. Thanks for being patient. So Chim, go ahead real quick.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. I'll just comment real quickly. While he is setting this up, please start writing your questions down on a notepad. We're about to go into the QA session. Go ahead, Chim.
Can you guys see the screen?
Yep.
Okay. So with the marketing team, we have several members, Ohio Silver, Mitch, Ryman, Willie T, and Zippo. Just want to go over briefly what some of the projects that we're working on. Currently, I'm video and image editor, especially if we've got like new equipment coming into the game, work in progress images. Still working on the promotional video, and I also do the Buzzard live streams. Ohio Silver is working on the tutorial videos, doing a knockout job on, and got, I think, close to a dozen done. So as soon as we get things kind of situated, we're gonna make it more available to everybody to check them out and learn from him. Mitch, we've got live streams every Sunday, and he's also doing some video creations. You may have seen it on the DLC packages. Right, man, he does his streams every Saturday. I'm sure you guys saw it yesterday. He's also in contact with a lot of live streamers. He's been bringing them in to live stream the games. Of course, Willie T needs no introduction. He always does a knockout job. And Zippo is working on the UI graphics for the new 136. You guys have seen some of his work in game. You just may not realize it was him that was built it. That's it.
That was a really cool presentation, dude. Well done. You had fun with that, I'm sure. Okay. Panelists, CRS team. Just want to make sure, one quick round. Is there anyone that was going to present that I missed? Like King, for example. And if not, that's okay.
If you're running short on time, mine was not long, but it's just
okay. No. I want to make sure you get an opportunity to speak. This is recorded, so people get through it. Go ahead and do yours real quick. I don't think I'm missing anybody else.
Does it come up?
Yep, it's there.
All right, perfect. Pretty much the QA team. I just wanted to go over who is involved in it. There's me and Old Zeke. He's my assistant team lead. M. Whitman. He's pretty much our senior alpha tester. He's been doing this a long time. Pit Pete, Chirenz, TR6 Al, and Psycho. Psycho is one of our newest alpha testers that pretty much we test everything. One thing I just wanted to go over real quick with everybody, since there's a lot of people here, we review bugs, bug reports every day. We get emailed to everyone on the team. We look it over. We try to determine exactly what's going on. Based off of the reports that we get, we find out if it's an isolated issue or a broader issue, if it's affecting everybody or someone specifically. But we do hear your bug reports when they come in, and of course I crashed. Let me reopen that.
No,
sorry.
He's just doing some live quality assurance testing. That's exactly what he does right there. He breaks stuff.
That's what's using a Microsoft product on an Apple. Okay, let me go back in there. But one thing that we do ask for with your bug reports is to be specific on if you do have an issue. A lot of reports that we get are usually just quick reaction stuff of if you died to somebody and then that's it, and there's really no information, no. Usually we need to recreate a problem and before we can start sending it off to the development team and the production team. So getting those details to us of I was shot from however meters away, that helps us a little bit more to be able to try to recreate the problem. That way we're not sending the dev team or the production team on a wild goose chase on testing things. We are also working on a better system to give you better feedback of what happens to your bug reports when they come into us. It's not on our priority list to get out right now. There's other things that are on top of that are coming out before that, but it is something that we want to work on, getting you the ability to see what happened to your .bug. The quality assurance team, we pretty much we aim to break the system. We look to when we get a new thing to test, we try to break it as much as we can. so that we can hand it back to the development team or the production team to fix the problem. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for any issues. Pretty much any feature or fixes will come through the QA team to be tested before it gets handed back out to before it actually gets back to you guys. And there's a lot of just joining the team here. There was a lot of things that I've learned over the years that just how big the game is. There's so much to it that it's hard to test one in each cycle. But unfortunately, sometimes one little thing you fix one thing here and it breaks something over there that you never even touched. So it's tough to find those issues. But we also rely on you to get us information. If you do see a problem, let us know. We do look into it, and we make sure that it gets addressed as time can allow. We also work with the other teams to either test or provide data on the game. Sometimes the marketing guys or the support guys will have a question on how this functions or what information or what happens when this happens. So, and a lot of times we may go through either testing or we may know the data. I know old Zeke pretty much knows just about everything in there, and he'll be able to provide an answer, or one of us will. So we do that a lot. And we're also looking to add pretty much to our beta team right now. We are looking for testers to test usually major releases, bigger releases like 1.3.6, things like that, where we'll be running through beta testing and some other things. So we're always looking to add to our team. So if you want to jump on board, send me a message on the forums. You can email me, and I can also we can get you added in. So and go from there. And that's all from us.
All right, sweet.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate what you guys are doing there. Hey, Ohm, are you here? Oh,
yes, I am.
Did you have a presentation you wanted to go through? I think that's the last one.
Well, I don't really have a presentation. I mean, everybody here knows pretty much what I do with the high commands and the supply list and all that stuff. The only thing I want to talk about is game hacks everybody complains about. A few releases ago, I'm not going to say which release we did it in, but we broke the ass. Damn it. It's my mother.
Hashtag nailed it.
Yes, that's my mother's texting me. So we broke what everybody calls the aimbot, or the VIP hack, or whatever you want to call it. We broke that really good, and it hasn't been fixed. They can't fix it. So what you're perceiving is somebody, killing you. It's most likely a skilled player hiding someplace really good. There's also the other hack of the speed hack. Well, that you'll never be able to kill, but we do have an ejection mode on there, and it picks up everybody that tries to use it, and it spits them out of the game. So sometimes you might see them all of a sudden disappear from your screen. That may be one, may not be. We do have lag issues, latency and all that from around the world. So you never know, but we know who they are, and we do take steps to take care of those people. But like I said, for aimbots and stuff like that, that thing is so far busted, it ain't coming back. And I'm not going to say where it was busted in, but we did a really good job. There's a few forums. I know a few guys know exactly where they are. You could go to their forums, and they're crying the blues. They ain't got it fixed. So if you think you're experiencing it, just remember, day one players, 17 years around here, they know where to hide. They know where, how good you are or how good they are. And they know where to go and how to play the game. So it's not just you against rookies all the time. That's about all I got.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody who's here as an attendee, listen, there's a lot of information. In my 8.5 years of doing a RAT Chat, this is the longest RAT Chat we've ever done, but it's also one of the most exciting ones in terms of new content coming and lots of momentum. Hopefully, From all of these presenters today, our people working here, you've learned a lot. World War II Online is doing pretty well. CRS is, when we talk about we're gaining momentum, today's a demonstration and proof of that actually occurring. We're going to continue the best we can at the pace we can. If you're interested in participating on our team, whether it's quality assurance or a marketing guy, or if you have development chops, you can help expedite and improve the mission overall. For that matter, we're going to be moving into the question and answer phase of this chat. Sorry it took so long, but we had some great material that we really wanted to get out. So thanks for being patient. So once again, we're going to cover how to ask questions really quickly. You're going to click where it says participants on your user interface. So look for that, participants. And then you're going to look for an area next to your name. You'll highlight your mouse over your name and raise your hand. So if you figured out by now how to raise your hand and you have a question, now's the time to do that, and I'll direct you to somebody. Okay, so make sure, by the way, your microphones, if you put your hand up, that's saying you have a functioning microphone, and I'll direct your question to the appropriate person who can answer it. Before we take on some questions, please try to maintain a respectful atmosphere. This is not the forums where we just go crazy. We do reserve the right to cut you off and move on if that becomes the case. So think about your question wisely, please. Okay. I'm going to allow Koila. Here we go. Koila, you're up.
Thanks, Jim. It's with the move to Town Supply 136. At the moment, we get the burnout in HC. How do you see the role of HC moving forward when we move on to the Town Supply?
When we go to town-based supply, the high command is going to be primarily, right now it's really burdened with flag management specifically. That's like the only job other than to initiate AOs and it's supposed to be rallying the player base. The original concept of the high command program was to help facilitate fun and exciting events and atmosphere, operations and organization and game leadership for our players. All the efforts that is going into flag management, as well as all of the stuff that scares people from even touching that, is going to be reworked. So our hope and intent is that we move people from high command back to spending their time to focus on the player base and cultivate good community relations with high command and reconnect those bridges, get squads back involved. So all that time being spent is going to be redeployed to positive, good things. And we think it's going to be a pretty inviting atmosphere. The risk factor for something to blow up in your face as an HC officer is going to be a lot less. So it only ensures, and it's more inviting for folks to step up. So one thing, when you guys ask your questions, I'm going to remove your ability to talk. The reason for it is we don't want to have a series, so we don't want to have one big dialogue per person and move on. So, Coyle, if you're wondering why I did that, that's why. Okay, so Jakari, I'm going to allow you to ask your question. Okay, unmute yourself.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
All right, I was wondering how, with the new garrison system, how the bombing and attacking factories, is that still going to be a thing, or is that kind of going to be phased out?
No, it certainly will continue to be a thing. RDP bombing has recently been restored, and it's still going to be something that we want to have. It's a huge component of our air game, and we've seen a very revitalized air game because of it. So thank you for your question. Slim Reaper, you're going to be next. Guys, don't forget, raise your hands. Otherwise, this is going to be a really quick and short Q&A session. Okay, Slim Reaper, here you go. Ask your question, please.
All right, how's that?
Yep, gotcha. Go ahead.
Oh, excellent. Couple questions, real quick questions. I know the XY axes are supported on like the IR tracker. Will the XY and Z, all three, be supported in the future? And what about virtual reality? Thank you very much.
Okay. I can't really answer the first question very well, so I'll kick that over to Sniper. But in terms of virtual reality, that's not something we're currently, we're not working towards that in any way. Not something we've said anything about. So Sniper, you still here? You want to answer the first one?
Yeah. So the VR or non-VR, the XYZ for IR. The problem with that is basically our graphics engine that we're currently using for this version of the game doesn't really support the Z-axis like most modern games do. That's just a side effect of the age of this current graphics engine. But we do have intentions of moving on to the future and the future version of the game 2.0 to a different graphics rendering engine, which would allow us to utilize something like that. At that point as well, the models would be incorporated with those abilities. So it's not something that we're currently looking into in the current version, but in the future version, it's on the list.
Right. And the future version, in terms of what that's exactly going to look like, to avoid any really big commitments on our end. After the completion of our roadmap, our intention at CRS is to take a step back with all of our critical team members and evaluate our real path forward. And that's going to be the next series of what our roadmap will look like. If it's a new graphics engine, great, but we can't answer that with absolute certainty. One of the core and integral things that is World War II Online is its scale, and that must be preserved at all costs. That's what we are. So if an engine can help us with that and we can manipulate it to it, great. But that's a whole other can of worms we probably shouldn't get into because it's many months away from even considering. Let's see here. I'm going to allow A. Barl. A. Barl, unmute your mic and ask away.
Okay. Do you have any plans for heavier bombers, like medium bombers or heavy bombers?
Okay, good question. Hatch, why don't you go ahead and ask that, answer that?
Yes.
We're
moving pretty much. I mean, there's not. We've got a couple some mediums in there now. It really doesn't make a lot of sense for heavy bombers right at the moment, if you in the context of our terrain size. But as you well know, Merlin and his guys are expanding that as rapidly as possible. I think once that happens, there's another thing that he's looking at, and hopefully we'll be able to work out in the future, where instead of having our factories set up as they are now, we have them scattered around the terrain, also with some other things like rail yards and some other targets besides just factories. I think once we have that, then it'll be much more conducive to a heavy bomber environment.
Right. All right. Very good. Thanks, Hatch. And good question. Duff Loop, I'm going to allow you to speak. Ask your question, please. Kind of unmute your microphone, bottom left.
He has a question in the QA section.
Well, if you got your hand up, you guys, okay. I have unmuted, I think.
He says he doesn't have a mic.
Okay, well, what's the question, please?
His question is, what about the speed difference between a DB7 and 111? Slightly unbalanced. I can let Hatch continue on the answer, but speed difference between two specific bombers just doesn't come into play with the only option for RDP bombing. There's many more facets to RDP bombing than just the speed of bombers. So take a look at the forums. There's plenty of information and discussion in the forums in regards to those balancing mechanisms, and go from there. Hatch, you want to add anything?
The only thing I was going to mention is that you have to have it in context. I realize that the DB7 is faster, but it also carries like half the explosive power as the Heinkel. So there's a trade-off there. And as I mentioned in the previous question, we're in the process of fleshing out some more mediums and so on. So it's going to each Air Force is going to have its own characteristics a little bit. It's not going to be just red versus blue. And so you're going to have to use tactics within those constraints to some extent. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Hey, King, I see a question on Facebook here by Nicholas Clements. I want to read it to you and have you answer it. Nicholas Clements on Facebook says, silly question, when you do a .bug report to report a problem with an AI pit, such as not being able to repair it, do you need to give the location of the AI pit, or is it recorded by the .bug report?
The location of, as long as he does the .bug where the location is of it, it will record that information. But it doesn't hurt to just give a general area north of this CP or to the west over here, and to specify what AI pit it is. Is it an MG? A lot of the things that Merlin's been doing is there are a lot of pits in game that are supposed to be player driven pits. So that's what he said. A lot of these little pits that might be missing an AI may actually just be a sand pit, sandbags there for you to use as a player. You're going to start seeing there's a few in game already of towers. There's going to be what you would normally call an AI tower, but it's actually a tower and it's got a ladder on it, and you can actually run up and actually shoot from it. So you're going to see that around towns as well. But Merlin's been trying to hit them as much as possible. If you see something weird, don't hesitate to bug it, and if it's something that we realize that it's supposed to be that way, then we'll just pass it forward. But eventually we'll be able to actually respond to you on that as well.
Okay. All right, we're going to proceed. Now we've got some more hands up here. I'm going to allow Hastian to ask his question. Hastian, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Now that you guys can manipulate the terrain, are you going to be able to update the fallen comrades that used to play the game with us?
I think that's for you, Ripper.
Yeah, me and Merlin are putting in different things that we've gotten in our tasks to assign those to. So eventually we'll get all those fallen soldiers updated and pay our respects to those players. You guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you. We heard your response.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move on to Jakari. Go ahead and ask your question.
I was wondering if there was any plans to bring in the naval a little bit more, like maybe like supply lines with naval ships that you can take out or something like that, so we can get the naval more active into it.
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the things right now we're doing for the naval game is earlier we had mentioned we're going to be adding in more terrain, cities and such, and ports, and also airfields, things to support that gameplay. Getting AI type columns to be part of RDP would also be awesome, but it's not currently on the plate. It's something several of us have talked about to reinvigorate gameplay for that. A real good starting point is expanding the territory and trying to remove the them getting cut off, the Zealands specifically. We also want to look at adding some more cities onto the east coast of England as well. That's about what we have right now, and you're seeing a lot more ports being added to the northwest side of France as well, as part of a recent terrain updates that you've been seeing. But good question. There's more we want to do. We do have a couple other irons in the fire, but we're not prepared to discuss them. Okay, A. Barl, you're up.
Okay, with your plans with the updated speed trees update that you talked about, are you also going to be updating grass, having different levels of grass?
Yeah, we're in the process of like, going from these really old, ancient dinosaur speed trees to the more modern day version of the speed trees, and also updating the grass. The grasses aren't going to be something like the clutter that we have now, where you can kind of see through all that stuff from far away. So like when you're actually going to hide in the grass and stuff like that, pardon the interruptions in the background, you'll be able to actually hide in the grass and
I feel for him. That has happened to me many of times. Hang in there,
Sorry
man.
about that. So as far as the grasses and different foliage objects, they're going to be updated to look more realistic, feel more modern day in game, stuff like you see in Unreal and other engines and stuff like that. I have a background where I'm a level game designer. I come from the Armed Assault game series. So if you've seen like what's in PUBG and in Arma and stuff like that, that'll be coming more down the pipeline for this game in the distant future, but not right now. It'll be like a big overall update all at once that we'll go through like a lot of dev and stuff like that before we get it out to you guys. So there's definitely a lot of really cool high-tech stuff coming down the roads as far as the graphics are involved for the overall gameplay for the environment for the game.
Yeah, until otherwise stated, everything that we're doing is focused on how do we add more fixes and new content to the game as it currently is, while investigating our path forward. But officially, that's what we're doing. We're completing this roadmap. So just want to cover that again. Tom Vitor, I think is how I say your name. Go ahead. You can talk. Ask your question.
Yeah, that's me. I got a question. You guys going back to behind the lines fighting so we can get towns behind the front lines? Like,
yeah, I understand your question. I understand your question. Let me pass it over to Chaos. Chaos, you want to answer that? You're still muted. There you go.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm like really laggy right now for some reason.
We can hear you.
What's that?
We can hear you fine.
Okay. Right. So behind the lines fighting. One of our goals, which probably won't see initial release, just because to get 136 out the door as fast as possible, fix some of the issues in the game. We've pared it down to core objectives. And we've got developers working on each of those core objectives. One of the things that if we can get done really easily, really quickly, that we'd like to get in for the initial release, but if we can't, then it might come on later down the road, is allowing the connecting FBs to be active from the rear line. That will spawn in from the backline towns and move up armor columns or trucks or supply or whatever towards the towns that you're fighting at. That incoming supply will allow aircraft to interdict reinforcements. It'll allow ground pounders or just infantry on the ground. You guys can set up a ZOC behind the town, surround it to hit some of those incoming reinforcements, stuff like that. So that's what we're currently considering for kind of some backline stuff. Stuff with paratroopers, stuff like that. That's because I know that is often requested, just ideas surrounding paratroopers behind the lines. Though that involves a lot of complicated thought and a lot of ideas that are like, okay, well, that's could be a problem because XYZ. None of that stuff we're thinking about right now. Well, thinking about it, but not working towards it right now. Just that's what I just talked about is the only stuff we're considering for behind the line stuff.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Thanks, Chaos. Now, listen, everybody. We've got we'll spend another 10, 15 minutes here. We're running at about 2 hours and 10 minutes right now. It's been a long one, but really good. We have the same people asking questions repeatedly, and we have a lot of people here who haven't said anything. I just want to spend a moment please be encouraged. If you don't know how to use the raise hand feature, just say, have a question in chat. Certainly that will work. We want to make sure we hear from everybody here at the moment and give you all an opportunity to speak. So, question. While we're waiting for some new hands and questions to be raised, I'm going to call on some of our guys who have been patient and quiet. Thank you. New coffee. Very exciting. Patiently waiting to say, yeah, Jim's like, yeah, he's the coffee guy on the team. We want to make sure you guys have an opportunity to talk as well. So please get some more questions ready, attendees. I'm going to go to KMS. KMS, is there anything you want to share with the community, or maybe something we missed that's really important they ought to know?
Yes. As you guys know, that the game runs on 8C, and not only just for the basic functions of setting and removing AOs, but a good leader can turn the tide for your team. He can actually carry a battle and help you win. So as much as people complain about equipment, really you want to pay a lot of attention to leading your side. And you don't have to be an 8C to do it, but you have better tools. You need some more guys in the high command, better participation. It would make things go a lot easier. That's all.
Yeah. And it's a really important message, especially until 136 gets here. It's fundamentally critical to maintain standard game operations. Okay, so I'm going to keep going through some of the guys who haven't been able to talk a whole lot, if at all, here. Mitch, you ready to, you got something you want to add for the community? And if no, that's okay. But if you, anything you want to say, go for it.
Well, you know, I just want to once again thank everyone who enjoyed my videos and helped me get a part of this team, because it's great to help out the team. And I plan on doing some more videos to show you guys behind the scenes of some things that us at CRS are working on. That way you guys have a little bit more feedback, a little bit more excited about things coming in the future. You know, as a player since 2004, that was kind of one of my frustrations is, you know, there's a lot of cool things about this game you just don't know until it happens. And sometimes even after it happens, you don't know it's there. So we're trying to get some of that stuff out in the light. That way you guys are more aware of it. And that we also need your guys' help to spread the awareness. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow on Twitch, follow us on Twitter, do those kinds of things. Helps out the team a lot. And once again, I appreciate all y'all who enjoyed this game. And yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's great. If you're on our Facebook or these other social media channels, the single best thing you guys can do other than liking is sharing. That will force multiply the whole marketing effort and make sure that people hear about us. And I know that that may not be the most glamorous or exciting thing, but more players is, and you have a direct impact on that. Your stamp of approval and recommendation is stronger than any advertisement that we can possibly muster. So don't forget your role in this, please. I'm going to keep going around. Let's see. We have a question. Demented asks question about 64-bit application and when will Russian language be added? So, okay, when will Russian translations be added? And I didn't understand your question about 64-bit. It's in progress. What percentage, Sniper? 80, 90%?
Yeah, the PC client's sitting around 95. Mac client, it's kind of harder to give a true percentage of completion on that because so much of the Mac code and PC code are kind of intermingled. So one is based off the other, but they both need their individual tweaks. So it's kind of hard to say, but the overall progress of 64-bit, I'm confident at 75% roughly.
Yeah, but a lot of, I've been told by developers directly that there's a lot of crossover. He was saying intermingling was one word, but there is crossover. Things done for one application can convert over to the other. In terms of the Russian translations, B2K, I think the majority of that is done. We're just waiting on implementation, right?
Yeah, that's in devs and production's hands. There's a lot more that goes into adding a brand new language to the game than just updating some text files and tossing them in there. So I'm in the work to get those things figured out. And then once they are figured out, they'll be added to the client. So they're there, they're translated. They're just waiting to be added.
Hey, B2K, are you here? You're muted if so.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I think you did introduce yourself, but how are we doing translators? Do we need anybody?
Oh, yeah, we could always use more, especially for our supported languages. Demented has been doing a great job getting our Russian language prepared for this, but we could use some more German, Italian, Spanish, and French-speaking folks to help us. And anybody who knows Chinese, we could use another Chinese translator.
Cool. All right. Good to know. Yeah. We have a very huge international community, and when we introduce new content or we change a couple words around, if we don't update it, it gets kind of messy. B2K leads the effort on all of that. So reach out to him. That'd be great. Okay, let's do. Don2323 from YouTube is asking, is there any consideration for vaulting over low objects as another way to traverse the environment? That would be wonderful, and I'm personally totally good with it. Not to be confused with bunny hopping or jumping, but if you can jump, if you are up against an object and vault over it, that would be fine. There's currently no active effort underway on it, but I think that's something that is realistic, that isn't gamey, that isn't too ridiculous. So yeah, great question. Unfortunately, not too much progress, but we did make some recent adjustments to improve the new player experience. One thing we are, particularly with controls is what I mean, one thing we are really wanting to look more into is mouse sensitivity. And these are all kind of correlated with each other by the infantry gameplay experience. Not directly with vaulting, but that's another one on our list we really want to get to. The Lens is asking about the lean function. Hatch, we put some work into that, I think. What was the outcome of that? I think we were looking at it and it was difficult, or do you remember?
That I haven't worked on any lean stuff, so that might have been prior to my joining the team. Maybe
was that Nick M? Or am I
talking about lean stuff?
Yeah.
I don't think Nick ever looked into lean stuff. He looked into the emotes and then the infantry collider stuff.
Okay. Well,
I'm pretty sure the lean stuff was strictly related to animations. I know that the lean code is still there. I've saw it, just not implemented.
Interesting. The lean thing was really cool when it was around, and I liked it. So we'll see. As you can tell.
If I'm remembering correctly, of course it's been a long time, but I think the reason it was disabled was because that you could actually clip your head through walls and see inside, if I remember. So
that's a problem.
Well, that's why it was.
Yeah, if that's the case, we're going to have to work on some infantry collider stuff before we can do that.
Yeah.
Well, let's not get too bogged down with that, but that was a nice function while it lasted. Okay, from Facebook, Jack Huderna, the question is, will we get an Allied airfield to the southeast of the map now that Den Haag will be upgraded to full location? I don't think Den Haag has an airfield. Could be wrong about that. Hatch, you want to answer that about Allied airfield to the southeast of the map? Is that a troll?
Yeah, well, it's hard for me to. The map's growing so fast in the background there, and so it's hard for me to specifically say, yeah, we're going to put an airfield there. I would leave that more up to Merlin's domain. He's going through and looking at historical airfield locations, and I'm assuming if there was one there, then there will be one there. And
he's actually in chat and just confirmed that, yes, there will be one at Den Haag. And Merlin, maybe you can answer about an airfield to the southeast. If you're unprepared to answer, we don't want to set ourselves up for that. Just think about it. But we're trying to add more. There is a second one at Charleroi, which is, I think, a new city. So it sounds sort of ish.
Sounds like, yeah.
So as the map expands, yeah, of course, we're going to be adding more airfields, and we are, like we said, trying to build up the naval gameplay, and that channel is really underutilized, and we want to build up the activity there. Okay, let's go. We've got some other questions here.
Is it Metz in the southeast?
Yes. I think it's typically German. I think he was asking, is there going to be an allied airfield specifically, since the ones up north we're adding are going to be German starting?
Well, at map start, Metz is allied.
Is it? Okay. Okay, well, I'm seeing a lack of questions here, so I'm going to proceed with letting some of our other guys chat real quick and share something, and we're probably going to wrap up. JCD04, are you here? Okay. M. Whitman, are you here? Swing and a miss. All right. What about you, Hio Silver? Are you here?
Yes, I am.
Yes, 1 for 3. I like those. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the community before we wrap up?
I'm just trying to do the best I can to get these things out for the training videos. If they have any suggestions of what they would like to see, then shoot, send me a text or in game or through my Hio Silver account on YouTube, and I'll see what I can do.
Okay, thank you. Morgan, is there anything else you want to add?
Nope, I'm all good.
Okay. B2K, anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Heavy 265. What's up, man? Got anything to add?
Just pertaining, use the forums, come back to the forums and share some thoughts there, try to get some squad ops going, and make sure we utilize your squad forums to the fullest. If you don't have them, please reach out and contact me, and I will set you up with your own squad forums and get you rolling. Any Discord needs, I'm more than happy to set up any squad channels for that and add and edit as needed. Other than that, nothing else.
Cool. On the forums note, let's try to make it a more positive atmosphere and stop going after each other. Can we do that? That'd be nice.
We should just be nice to each other.
Just be nice. Don't be that way. All right. All right, we're going to keep rolling. Chaos, anything else for the meeting?
One thing that I forgot to mention because I was taking up too much time in my presentation. Movable brigades will still be around. The town supply will be the major thing. The movable brigades will be supplemental and will bolster the town supply. I don't think that came up in my presentation, so I just wanted to make sure that was stated. That's it.
Yeah, no, that's great. All right, King, anything else to add?
Nope. Everything's good on my end.
All right, Psycho, you've been there patiently waiting, I'm sure. Anything you want to add for the community or the team?
People should start using Discord more. That's all I have to say. And new guys, definitely get on Discord. It'll make your game experience 100 times better. And if you need help getting on, I can help you. There's plenty of people here that can help you with it.
Yep. Good stuff. Thanks, man. All right, Mitch, any last words?
Nothing for me.
Cool, thanks. Boom, boom. Anything else?
Yeah, well, just I want to emphasize that what I've shown here today is just tip of the iceberg. Lots of good stuff coming in the future. So stay tuned and support our future work.
Agree to that. Z, got anything?
No, sir.
All right. KMS, anything else? Cool. All right. Chim, anything else?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. you know, all the teams are always looking for new players and new people to join their teams. So, you know, if you have any specialties or anything of the sort,
Okay, excellent. Al, anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Seeking just about everything.
Okay. I'd call on Ohm, but I don't want to talk to his chair. Ryman, got anything?
Nothing too big, other than everyone here knows where to find me, either on Discord or on YouTube. You have any other questions directed towards me or for anything at all, feel free. I don't bite.
He just smashes. No bite, just smash. Ripper, got anything?
I just wanted to say, very thankful for the opportunity to work on this game. It's been one of my favorites since day one back in 2001, since the beta days, and love playing this game. And I'm super happy to be able to help upgrade this game so it looks great. That's about it.
I appreciate what you're doing, man. Okay, Hatch, I think I missed you earlier. You got anything else to add?
No, just appreciate all you guys being here. As you can see, we've made huge strides, and it just keeps getting better. Really appreciate your support, and we'll see you out there on the battlefield.
Yep, amen. Okay, well, as you guys have seen, as Hatch was saying, there's a lot of work going on. We've got a lot of folks contributing, and we're starting to develop the game again. Our roadmap is our key focus for our development plan, barring a couple emergency or other small-time content fixes or additions here and there. That's the overall game plan. 136 has the most amount of people working on it right now than there ever has been, and the progress being made there is really good. 64-bit is making progress. We've talked about that a couple of times. New terrain, all sorts of things are happening. At this stage, all we can do is just continue to ask for your support and also patience, that these things take a while. Let's not forget that not long ago, a large majority of what we're talking about today was long distant thought with no idea of when it would be completed or when we could even start. But the fact that we're now developing the game again and learning all these things and we've stabilized is really important. There are going to be many people who watch this video later, maybe aren't subscribed right now for whatever reason. We know there's a couple other games that are out right now. We know that we have a lot of work to do to get ours up to speed. We're trying. If you have enjoyed World War II at some point or another, maybe you never lost that love but just moved on for some reason, we ask that you reconsider and come back and recognize what we're trying to do. Ultimately, without your support as a subscriber, we won't be able to achieve these really big things we want to. And that's just the God honest truth. That's no corporate something or another. That's the bottom line. So long as there's subscriber support, as we've demonstrated together, CRS as well as the community, will continue to last through the test of time, through all these other challenges. But we need to stick together. So remember, we're all a team here. And as an old sign used to say in the game, and I think it was in French, Hatch may be able to correct me, that the rats are your friends. Most of us were community members first, and whatever stigma that we inherited from the past, or maybe we've not agreed at all times because communication sometimes does that. Hopefully our actions and what we're doing here and improving the game and keeping it going really speaks for itself. For those of you who are ultimate fans and supporting us, thank you. We really appreciate it. For those of you guys on the sidelines, we ask, come back. There's a lot of good stuff happening. Your kids are going back into school, whatever. Come on, let's go. It's going to be awesome. And everybody who has a premium subscription at some point or another in our history now has a free rifleman. They can log in and play or even check in on the forums right now, right as we speak, and there's no obligation for that. I don't have much more to say at this stage. Thank you for showing up. This is a great chat. We hope you share it. Reach out to our fellow community members. Make sure they see this. Let's get our squads back. Let's get things rolling here. But we're going to need you guys to help us with that, okay? All right. Well, that's it. So go ahead and cancel, if you will, Chim, the live stream. Appreciate what you guys are doing.